started, finished up with the chat the hour before. I pulled some Corridora eggs and I checked on the rainbow fish fry. And if you hear some sputtering in the background, it's because that's some of my fry trays going that we're getting a little bit of surface scum, so I had to turn it up. And so if you hear sputtering, that's what it is from all the way across the room. But yeah, what are we talking? We were talking about right before we went live about YouTube kind of being shady a little bit, in my opinion. I hate to start with like, oh, that's a bummer. We'll start there though, because I'm waiting for questions to roll in. But basically, what's going on, I believe, we've been on YouTube 10 years. I've been working with teams on there for probably 8 of those years, and they're really, I think, just pushing everybody to go to a premium model. So that means, people paying the $10 a month or $15 a month or the family plan at $20 a month, whatever it is in your country. And so they're just ramping up ads, and I actually don't think I can control it anymore. So I've been sheltering you guys from it as much as I could. And so you might have noticed on these live streams, there's just no ads at all. Because if I even try to monetize it a little bit, like, hey, play one ad. Like just when you hop in, you watch one ad, and then you got 2 hours of Corey blabbing. It'll show that on my end, but as you guys chime in, they stuff it full of ads. And I have no idea if we get paid for it or not. The only way I can stop it is by actually just not having ads. And then also I don't know, that's kind of tinfoil hatty, but it seems like less views if you don't have ads. That could just be me being mopey. But I will say they have also introduced a new feature where I think it's starting middle of May. Although some of it's already rolled out for some people, so I don't know. Ads, if you don't opt your channel out, it will stick ads on top of the ads that we would place. So maybe we go, hey, we want to put an ad once every 10 minutes. Or in live streams, I did it once every 30 minutes. That's what I wanted to do. And they go, yeah, but you could put in an ad every 5 minutes. And so they're kind of forcing that down everyone's throat. And there are people, myself included, going, yeah, but I only set one ad and then it played more. And they keep saying like, oh, well, not all ads will be served to all people. But I think everybody that doesn't have premium or has done any testing just knows like there's a lot of ads right now. And I'm sure they got to make more money. YouTube costs an insane amount of money to run. Every day there's a kid just uploading like, I played a video game times a million of those every day. And then there's people documenting their family, and there's so much bandwidth and just everything going on that I'm sure it's a colossal bear that they're wrestling the whole time. And if I'm being honest, I've had YouTube Premium for many years now as a family plan for my wife, me, and I think a couple friends / employees. It's worked out really well, and I do think YouTube is worth some amount of money, whether it's $5 a month or $10 a month. Everyone's gonna get their own thing. When I'm fixing my car or looking up a thing and trying how to do something, it's obviously worth something. And everyone's got a different opinion. We're all used to having it for free for the past 15 years. And the reality is now is the time where they're going to go, hey, this thing's got to make us more money. Why? Because we said so. Whether it needs to be there or not, doesn't really matter. They have produced a product that is worth something to most people. And what I did learn, though, is that YouTube Premium, I was watching somebody else's video on this earlier today because I was trying to educate myself, right? I did find out that YouTube Premium is better than I thought for creators. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the money you pay, let's say you pay $15 a month or $12 a month, right? If you're watching this right now and I serve ads, which I'm not, so I get nothing of it, but imagine I was serving ads, I get a percentage based on how much you watch. So if you watched 20 hours of YouTube in a month, or let's make it really easy math, you watch 12 hours of YouTube in a month, and let's say you watched 4 2-hour live streams from Aquarium Co-op. Well, we would get they keep 45%, so really it'd be like there's $6 of the pie. We would get like 4 to 5 of those dollars. So it actually really, I did a terrible job explaining. Technically, we could make more money from you being on premium than you having ads. So it is kind of cool. It's more of a crowdfundy thing, and ads are getting more and more ridiculous. They're longer, they're less targeted, all of that. Um, you know, am I wrong in thinking no ads like $20? No, I mean I think that's like a family plan, and maybe you got to buy it through Apple. Like there's so the problem is I hate when there's not transparency. Um, and I just want one price. I would love it if I could subsidize it somehow for you guys. Like there's a lot of things. I forgot. Part of the thing was, isn't that interesting? I have uh the new light from last week. I'm gonna grab it. There's actually a whole new feature that says I was supposed to hit take a break and serve you guys more ads, which I'm not doing. You can just listen to me in the background. I saved all my props. Ugh. So I got the new Fluval light, Aqua Skylight, right? TLDR, do not recommend, would not buy, posted it on the forum. So just, there's some things about it, but I don't think it's worth this money. But I'll talk a little about the light a little bit more. I wanted to show this ridiculous box. So you can see the few pillows in there. This thing, let me try to put this in perspective for you. Here's Gigantabox. And here's product. That might not look insane until you get that bad boy going. So, thanks, Petco. As I said in my review, try leaving some room for the rest of us that'd like to ship some products around the country. And yeah, it's irritating. You could ship like 8 to 10 of those lights in that box, and so that was just irritating in itself. Of like, that's half the reason why, not half, but it is a reason why shipping is not great in the United States at the moment, because of just bloating like that. So yeah, but the light itself, kind of slimline, kind of cool. Like, as in the new the ends, I thought was kind of sweet. Like the way it kind of, but at the ends, it gets kind of like, ooh, that's real janky there. But the way it fits in real cool. I think that's pretty cool. And then I like that the cord comes out from the unit, so that this slides independently, and it's real easy. It's not in the way. So I do think that was like, it's pretty good. But the par wasn't impressive. It's also one single band of LEDs, so the spread's pretty narrow on it. And then there's no physical button. You have to go through the app, which is the Fluval Connect app, which is different than the old app. And it kind of toted, I thought it kind of toted itself as like an RGB light. I felt like I read that. Customizable color spectrum. Oh yeah, RGB plus dual white LED. Well, that is kind of some real crappy speak for, you can technically change the color on this light as long as you don't have the whites on. The white is so powerful, you can't tell you're changing color until you turn the white off. So it's either so dark you can't see it, or you can't tell you changed the thing. So basically you're getting a budget light that isn't very budget, in my opinion, at $150. And the TLDR on it, I don't like their warranty system. They went up to 4 years, so, kudos to that. That sounds great. Except you have to register with all your information to get it. And so I'm on the camp of, if it's going to be 4 years, just give people 4 years. Don't make them jump through hoops. They already gave you $150. And so I don't like the gotchas, as I called it. And the gotcha would be, yep, you buy it, you get your 2 years, and then it's been year 3 and something breaks, and you're like, ooh, you didn't register it? I'm sorry, we don't stand behind our products unless you register them. Like, you either do or you don't stand behind them. And I get it. I'm a guy that sold lights and everything. And it's like, well, how do you know it didn't get sold at a garage sale and the next person bought it and this thing and this thing and this thing? They still have to prove they bought it from somewhere. At least let them go, here's a receipt from Petco. Maybe they bought one yesterday and they're like, oh, I'm going to get them to replace it. They still bought another light. It just, 99% of Aquarius are good-natured people that aren't taking advantage. And so when you make them jump through hoops, you're just costing yourself good reputation. So yeah, bummer is what I'm going to say to that. But I can't really compare it on a spectrum yet because tariffs and things like that are changing the prices of all lights. So while this seems too expensive at $150, if all other lights have to go up in price, maybe it doesn't look as bad. But that doesn't change some of the like the RGB is kind of a fat lie, where like these Chihiro lights, I can radically change the way the light looks, and that is true RGB. So, because it's not all washed out. So maybe I can even demonstrate that. Let me see if I can get the Chihiro's lap open. Which Chihiro's light's nearly twice as expensive, just FYI. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. Just that what is RGB lighting? And so if I get in here and so these are at half power, by the way. I've got them turned down 50%. But let me play with one here. Let me put it into like a red mode on one side. You see how that side just became totally red? Because I hit the red button and it became real red. I'm gonna hit the green button now. See how it's way green and the other side is more neutral? I'm gonna hit the one that's called Buse, whatever that is supposed to mean. I think it's more purpley. Yep, now it's more purpley. And then I'm gonna hit the one that says fish, right? So this side will be fish. This one's been in my normal setting. Now we're gonna go to fish. All right, that's fish, whatever that is. Now we're gonna go to shrimp. Yep, that's shrimp. And then I can just have all full blast, like blast them. That's what that is, right? I rock this thing at half. So I'm gonna hit half. There, it's rocking half. So, still looks a little different to me. Is it actually rocking half right now? Are you? Load 50%. Yeah, okay, it's rocking half now. So that's what I expect when you advertise RGB. I can actually change the color, where if I was to do a whole video and I don't want to, you'd be like, that is laughably bad. Like, the color is literally not changing, Corey. I'd be like, I know. It's pretty bad. So, which I am trying to carve out the time, and I'm, don't hold me to it yet, but I'm going to try to do it where I think I'm actually going to start rating lights. So, like, giving my opinion a little bit, but also just like, if a company sends me a light, I'll take the par and I'll do these certain things. And then we'll try to give them some way they get a score. So that way, once we get a baseline, we've done 20 lights, and oh man, this one scored a 55 out of 100. This one, scored an 80 out of 100. It'll have some relevance. Because right now, if I just go, yeah, Fluval light, 29, it has no reference point, right? And so if we can start charting things, like one of the metrics I wanted to try and chart at time of release, what is par to dollar ratio? So how much physical light do you get for how many dollars? Because like the Fluval 3.0 planted, it started out selling at $175, then it was $199, then it was $220. Now it's like $250 for the 4-footer. So that's why I'm saying at time of launch, because it's going to be impossible. Like, I'm not going to go back 3 years from now and be like, well, let me update it. Tariffs have happened, things have happened, price went up, price went down. So what I think it'll allow is, one, why would I do this? Because two parts. One, it'll bring people to our website. That's good for us. Two, I can probably link to most of them on Amazon. If you guys or someone buys one, then we get a very small amount. I did the math. If you bought, like if I linked to this and you bought it, I'd get $3. which isn't nothing. It ain't nothing, but it also is like, it's kind of a lot of work to build the whole review and the review site to make $3. Yeah, it also is, yeah, as Steven pointed out, it's also very hard to show the differences in light, both intensity and coloration with a camera. So that's where I kind of have to almost take that out and give like, here's what I think it does, but so much you have to see in person. $3 does add up, but you really, sorry, you really do have to do massive amounts. So like, let's say it takes me a year to build this part of the website and it makes $200 a month. Any other project on the planet, mowing my grandma's yard, nets more money than that. So it's not always just about money, but just know that like it's a pretty weak return. Also, I do know certain people will be like, oh, he's getting a cut. Dude's getting rich. He probably sells 150 light, probably gets $30. Like, no, it's literally $3. And then out of that, there'll be taxes and stuff. So it's a pretty long kind of game. If a lot of people are buying a lot of lights, you know, if you all go crazy and buy 1,000 lights each, then hey, that's a different story. Let's see. I just need to know if I was supposed to read the title in the church lady voice. I'm going to say no, because I don't even know what the church lady is. That's probably some pop culture reference or something I'm unaware of. I only eat, sleep, and drink fish, water. Let's see. Yeah, it's been warm today here. In fact, I'm playing with a new gadget. You see if I can show you this gadget without like doxing myself for the 30th time today. I've got a fan installed in my attic right above us that turns on with temperature. And what's the theory behind that, Corey? Why would you have this in your fish room building? In theory, it could be 75 degrees here in the fish room, and on a hot day, it might be 150 in that attic. But maybe it's only 90 degrees outside. If you have a fan that vents through, it will now be like 100. Will be like, yeah, it'll be like 100 in the attic, and that means less heat coming through the ceiling into your fish room. So less AC. That would be the theory, right? You can also do the inverse of that during the winter. It gets a little more tricky with winter because there's a little more humidity and stuff, but people are saying they saw bills and stuff drop based on venting out the heat. So I'm trying it. I'll let you guys know if it goes well. Gotta wait more summertime though. Church Lady is a Gen X thing from the Saturday Night Live. Yeah, I got out of Saturday Night Live early. Plus, we had Almost Live in Seattle, which was like a local version type of thing that was... I watched a little bit of that, but I was kind of too young. Anyway. How do I keep shrimplets alive? I've got no predators, a sponge filter, good water parameters. I'm overfeeding a ton. What else can I do? I've had 2 shrimp tanks for 8 months and 0 babies. Are you sure you have shrimp babies? Like, how do you know you don't have all males? Because everything you just listed, that's what... Like, I could throw shrimp on the ground and they'll make more. Like, if I accidentally get them wet once a week because I'm dripping a net on them, they will make more. Okay, I can actually think of one more thing. I'm talking about neocardinia. If you're doing, like, crystal shrimp, you have to have very specific pHs or they will not breed. So if you're like, oh yeah, I'm having trouble with them breeding crystal shrimp, that would explain it. I'm reading this comment. I can breed websites, or I can make websites super fast, and I'm just trying to think of like the actual building of the website is the easy part. It's the hours and hours of work you're going to put into testing all the parameters, measuring the cord length. Like, people, when you sell any product, they're going to go, well, how far are the LEDs spaced? How far from the end? Is it actually 36 inches or is it 35 3/4? Because I'm putting in a canopy. Like, all of these things where it's like you're going to spend hours on each product trying to dial it in. That's the part I'm talking about with building out this thing, is all of that. Not so much the actual storing of the data on a website. It's primarily. But also there still is work of like when it links to the affiliate link, you want it to be worldwide, detect the geolocation you're at. Oh, you're in Europe. Let me get you the correct like .de Amazon affiliate link. Let me get you the correct, oh, you're in Canada. So I mean there are aspects to it, but yeah, it's mostly the actual work. What happened to Easy Carbon? The EPA ruled that glutaraldehyde, which is the active ingredient in Easy Carbon and many other things like that, is an algicide. And because it's an algicide, or it's a pesticide. Algicide? I can't remember. I have to read what they actually classified it as. We would have to register it in every state and pay fees and things like that quarterly to every state, and it was just a big, definitely not worth it for the amount we sell. Like, no. And so in theory, because we brought up CO2 Booster, we bought from API, we brought up CChem Flourish Excel, and they basically said, oh, don't worry, they're getting the same letters. And so maybe they're willing to pay all the fees and do all the upkeeps and stuff like that. We're not. That's basically what it comes down to. Wasn't a big enough seller to do that. And already it's laughable where we have to pay Easy Green because the fertilizer in some states. And they're like, okay, well, how many metric tons did you sell? And we go, well, we did the math, and it's 0.0000000000001. And your website doesn't have that many digits. What would you like us to do? Oh, you have to call and we have to manually do it. We literally had to issue a check for 75 cents. And we have to do that every quarter. Because we asked them, we said, can we prepay for like the next 20 years? And we'll just let you know if we go past 0.00000000001 metric tons of this fertilizer. And they said, no, you have to cut us a check for 75 cents to like the state of Alabama till the end of time if we sell at least one bottle. To actually get to a point where we'd have to give them more than 75 cents, we'd have to sell like, I don't know, a truckload. And Alabama ain't buying a truckload of Easy Green. That's what we know. So, yeah. So that's where we went with Easy Carbon. We're just like, it's purely just not worth it. Don't sell enough of it. When we first launched, I'm like, yeah, it's more of an algicide than it is CO2 booster. It does both, but and so it's easy enough to go, hey, you know what? It's kind of like the name on the Magic Small Fish feed. It was easy enough to go, you know what? We can call it anything. It's great. People will buy it. Doesn't matter. What are the best plants, in my opinion, for a 55 filled with Yucatan mollies and another 55 with Cuban limias? Liber City, huh? Well, is it looks or is it breeding? If it's breeding, just as much guppy grass as the tanks can hold. If it is looks, I would probably do one with like dwarf sag carpet, so dwarf Sagittaria, and then I would do one that's probably like more Anubias and Java ferns and things, and then I would sprinkle in color. So like, oh, let me put a tiger lotus in this one. Let me put a dwarf aquarium lily in this one. Let me, just do little things. But two main plants to really provide the fry cover, I'm guessing you want with those live bearers. And then season to taste. I accidentally overdosed Flourish Excel, killing most of my fish in my 10-gallon. How long should I wait to add new ones? A couple weeks. Yeah, I would. Guppy Fry or Loving the Small Fish Feed, or whatever the name is. Good. We do have, at current sales rate, we have about 4 weeks of small fish feed left. That may or may not be long enough. The Magic Small Fish Feed that was rerun is hopping on the water any day, and it takes about that long to get to us. So if you are raising discus or doing something critical with your Magic Small Fish Feed, you might want to re-up sooner rather than later. And the good news is, hopefully, we'll get brine shrimp back in stock before that. So, yes, we are lucky in that we've had some success launching some products. We are unlucky in that tariffs have made it everybody race to get products in as fast as they can, and shipping lines are jammed up. Can I reintroduce baby Corys in the community tank with their parents? You can, make them sure they're big enough so they're not going to get eaten, but I think that'll be all right. Oh, yes. April's Aquariums does carry our stuff in Canada, and I will be there. Is it next weekend? Well, not this. It's like a week from this Saturday. So, yeah, if you want to see me, come there. I'll be there on Saturday. And then May 3rd, we will have the grand opening of the store. And then after that, I'm doing a trip to go see Dan's Fish. Use code Aquarium Coop, save 5%, by the way. Then after that, I think I've got Keystone Clash. And then I think I've got potentially one other thing. I stuck my jar of the small fish feed in the freezer because I'm not going through it fast enough. Too few fish eating it? How's that possible? I'm feeding it by like the dump truck full. Because even my big fish love it. This live stream is the best thing to listen to while sitting here doing my self-employed taxes. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Tiger Lotus flowered outside your tank? That's cool. That's one I haven't flowered yet. I have not flowered that. It looks really cool. I've had employees do it. I haven't kept enough of them to really give myself that chance, I feel like. But I don't like them getting tall, so I always trim them down too. So obviously I'm shooting myself in the foot. But it looks super cool when they bloom outside of the tank. That one does look really cool. Can I sell Easy Carbon in Canada? I don't know. I'll tell you this, though. It's not economically viable to produce a product to only sell in Canada. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Try some Bacter AE. Bro, you just got to go with the Magic Small Fish Feed. Bacter AE, while fine, I would use Magic Small Fish Feed. Accomplish a better, I can't say better, a more accessible food that does virtually the same motions. Let's see. When 3D printing for the aquarium, when 3D printing for the aquarium, what is my favorite filament and why? P.S. The wife blames 1K printer purchase on me. Thanks. I only use, this is too nerdy for normal people. I only use PLA. It's the cheapest, most available, and I've yet to have any problems with it in an aquarium, meaning nothing's broken. There are lots of 3D printer nerds, just like there's the Fish Police and the Betta Police and the Oxalata Police and the blah, 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 who will argue all day long. But if you happen to forget it outside and it was freezing and you ran over a car and a fish ate it, this filament would be better than that one. Like, you are right, except that'll never matter for me. And so PTEG, which is also very popular, I don't like wrestling it off the printer bed every time. It is a pain in the butt. So I was like, why would I do this thing? Because literally, I have this thing I'm working on right here. It's literally the same to me, whether I'm prototyping to produce a product, where I'm using it in my tanks, whether it's sitting there forever, doesn't matter. It's all the same and now there could be at year 4 this happens, and I'll be the first to tell you guys. But for now, yeah, cheapest stuff. What do I think of Rickian fluotans? Can you get it to carpet on DIY CO2? You can, but it's a plant that it's a plant that wants to float. Can you smash it against a rock and put a hairnet over it and it'll look cool for 4 months? Yes. If you don't trim it every 4 days, is it gonna pull itself off? Yes. So is it good for competition work? Yeah, it looks super cool in photos. Is it cool for someone who's got a real life? Oh no. No, it is not. Yeah. Struggling between Congo Tetras and Galaxy Rasboras for a schooling group in 55. That's kind of polar opposite. Tiny fish, big fish. Uh, I think, is it like in your living room where you're going to sit across the room? Congo Tetra. Is it like right here next to your desk where you're 2 feet away from it? Then do the Celestial Pearl Danios. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, let it cool down and flex the print tray. You would think, as someone who like has to use it for work and prints all the time and has resources, he would try that. You would also think Corey owns every tray available. I literally have a stack of trays like this thick. I've tried them all. You would say, Corey, why not try all these other things? And then I would show you the boxes of stuff that didn't help the problem. And then I'd go, yep. Or I can do this thing where I click a button and then I walk over there and it's absolutely perfect. And then I touch it and take it off, and then I do it again. So, and it could be a user error thing. I'm just saying, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm just saying that when I take it out and I let it sit there for 2 hours, and I still have to scrape it off, and I've broken things, scrapers, I've stabbed myself. You see people post pictures of it when it tears the coating off the plate. That doesn't sound like just let it chill and it works. That sounds like, yeah, that's exactly what had happened to me. It sucked. I don't enjoy that. So, yeah, for me, it's like anything else. I'm those people that tell you change 100% of your water every day with 11 canister filters on your tank, and then you've got me going, yeah, just one sponge filter will be fine, and people go, no, you're just doing it wrong. You're just lazy. Ugh. Like, yeah, I am. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Can't wait to 3D print a fish egg collector. I got a big batch of CPDs in today. Nice. Yeah. What's my opinion on polar blue parrots? I haven't kept any. I don't think they look particularly cool to me. So that's my take. Sometimes you can have stuff that doesn't look cool, but then you keep it and you're like, this thing is really cool behavior. I didn't see that at the store, or I didn't see that in photos. So photo-wise, not impressive to me, but maybe behavior-wise it would be. But I haven't kept it, so it would have to like oops its way into my fish room, and then I'd have to fall in love with it, kind of like like a cat could do that to me. My wife is like, no, I don't want a cat. It'll jump up on my baking surface and stuff like that. But I guarantee if the cat delivery system deposited a cat at our house somehow, like it's just like, oh, look at this baby, it's an orphan. Somehow we'd end up being cat owners. So same thing, polar blue cichlid. It would have to be on the polar blue cichlid delivery system. You know what looks really cool, Corey? Fancy goldfish. They do look cool. In fact, I only shared that with members. Well, I'll share it with everybody now. We had our goldfish speaker, and then they're part of the Goldfish Council. And then I happened to see that the Goldfish Council is doing a grow out contest for a random goldfish from a breeder inside the United States. So I went ahead and signed myself up. It was $61.50 for 3 goldfish shipped to your door. Sounds great. And then you try and get them as big as you can, or give them the biggest wen or the best body shape. And you take pictures and you compete with the other nerds that are doing the same thing, and maybe you'll have a bunch of fun. That's what I'm hoping for. So I signed myself up because I love grow out contests. It lets you try, like, I'm gonna try this food, I'm gonna try this water change, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try this. It's fun. So, but I shared that link on the membership thing because they saw the goldfish thing, right? Made sense. Same people. But yeah, if you go to the Goldfish Council, you could look it up yourself also. Let's see here. A textured PEI plate makes a huge difference. Yep. I'll put that next to the 5 different ones I have that and when you go, what about the cryogen one? I own that one too. I own it too. I also own that one. What about filament dryers? I got 5 different ones. Like I kind of own it all. And it's like anything. I can own all the aquarium filters and everyone will still argue. And it's like, that doesn't change that I like sponge filters. I love PLA, which you're saying as well. I'm not saying you don't. I'm just, people keep asking, and I wish someone had told me, bro, just get a decent 3D printer, get your PLA, don't buy all the accessories. It'll do everything you've seen in a video that I've done. If you've seen me use it, it's the most basic setup possible. And then when you see someone who printed a 3D costume for a con, great. Yes, get yourself, all the bells and whistles and do that. I'm just printing stuff that I use every day, day in, day out. What color Arandas did I get? They are red cap Arandas, so I think they're going to start out mostly white with red, but who knows how they'll end up by the end of the season. We will see. My favorite 3D object I've seen for the hobby is the sliding lid tracks. Those are one of the things you see and just say, finally, yeah. We used to do it DIY with, like, Home Depot parts. They had some kind of, like, siding that went in a kitchen or something. But you had to buy the glass that fit them, and they weren't modular, and they kind of sucked and real flimsy. Now, a lot of what 3D printing is doing is taking things you had to, like, hack together with what's available on a shelf and can I make it do a thing? And then you say, I wish it could do this. 3D printing lets you do that little extra, like, oh, well, that's nice. So if you needed something in 12 inches, but you can only buy it in 9, well, now you can just print it in 12. Assuming you have a printer big enough. There's some caveats there, but it's mostly that. 3D printing's kind of awesome for stuff you were going to DIY from Home Depot and have it look kind of hokey. Now it just looks kind of awesome, and you can share it with a friend and they just click the button and they're like, whoa, it is also awesome. And you did all the work. That's my favorite part of the 3D printing hobby is instead of, like, let's say woodworking, right? You go, well, what are all the cuts I need to make? And here's a list of all the wood you got to cut, all the things you got to do. You're like, oh, it's still a lot of work. But if you go and do that with 3D printing, you basically go, here's what you do. You click the print button, and then it's done. That's the awesome part. You get to skip a lot of the work if someone else is doing the work. So, yeah, it's pretty fun. Let's see. What was in my first fish tank? The first fish I ever bought were penguin tetras. I think the second thing I bought was black mollies, and they bred, and that blew my mind. Yeah. PLA is 4 times weaker. Yeah. You know how many things have broken for me in PLA? 0. I literally have never had a single thing break so far. You're like, Corey, you mounted things to the wall and stuff. Yep, I've never had a single thing break so far. So again, it's that whole, like, nerd police of, like, but 4 times the strength, Like, yeah, except I haven't ever broken one yet. Now, if I start breaking them left and right, gonna have to do that PETG. But yeah, that's what I'm saying is I'm not making car parts, not making motorcycle parts. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm literally, am I using PLA Plus? Like, no. I'm using cheap Sunlu, or Polymaker's not cheap, but just basic PLA. I don't know what to tell you guys other than, like, people always say, oh, with this thing, you're going to have a problem. Like, yeah, but I'm not. I don't know what to tell you. It's not. Yeah, I listened to all the gurus, bought all the stuff. You know what that did? It made it real hard. And then when I just, like, you know what if I just do this really easy? Like, oh yeah, I love this. I literally went from I hate this hobby to I love it by getting rid of all the extra. Let's see. Bulletproof glass aquariums will be pretty strong. And crazy heavy, by the way. Real heavy. Yeah, you have to laminate multiple sheets. I think there's different annealing processes to those sheets. Bulletproof glass is kind of a crazy thing. Same with, like, the acrylic, too. Can you tell me if bristlenose plecos will eat cribensis eggs or any other fish eggs? They will, yes. I would say yes. Now, the thing to know is if I have bristlenose and I put eggs there, lights go out, they will walk over and eat them. Yum, 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 yum. Real good protein for them. But that's not how it works in an aquarium, because you're like, well, they're there and they're in this small cave and you've got like a crebensis female blocking the entrance. They're not going to get eaten then. So that's where spawning caves can help you a ton sometimes. And just overall how you're setting it up. Like with angelfish, for instance, if you've got snails and bristlenose eating their eggs. They lay it on an Amazon leaf, or maybe you got a slate in there and they're eating them at night. One of the tricks is you can leave the light on. When the light's on, they stay awake and they keep chasing away the things trying to eat the eggs. So you've changed the environment enough that they're staying alert and they're helping fight that off. And so usually there's things you can do. So will bristlenose eat eggs? Yes. Are there different tactics you can do to prevent that? Yes. That's probably why you're getting the results of some people say yes and some people say no, because if they have the right setup, like, oh, it'll never happen to me, like, yeah, it might not ever happen. You might be spawning them inside this cave, and when you start looking at like Apisto caves and crebensis caves, there's like, you know, normal shaped ones, burrito shaped ones, this shape, this shape, this shape, and each one's got a different reason why we're going to that shape. So yeah, that's, yes, so yes, they will, and yeah, that's the final answer. They will, within reason. Lots of people have been donating memberships. Thank you to Faust and Casey and other people that I'm not seeing right in front of me. Don't think I'm missing you. I just can't remember them all right off the top of my head. I will say membership is growing just overall. Yes, people are donating, but also people are choosing just to sign up themselves and stay longer. And I think it's because of the Deep in the Mullen podcast. If you don't know about that, we do an episode each week with Randy, myself, and Zenzo, and people seem to love it. So we will keep doing it for now. And as long as people keep loving it, we'll keep doing it, because it is another dedicated day to it where, like, okay, well, that's filming day. Like, don't schedule anything else. Like, we got to get it done. So yeah, we're having a great time, you know, and you guys seemingly are as well. So that's good feedback. Can I remove seed shrimp from a Neo tank? Like, are you saying would it be detrimental? You totally could. I'm just not sure how you pull it off. And what I mean by that is, like, are we going to use a fish to eat it? Or, like, I don't think you can manually separate it out. Yeah, so if you've got a good way, yes. I don't think I've got a good way to advise you. One thing I do want to do, and maybe you guys, so maybe someone in the chat has done this, and if you have, please go to the forum. Has anybody tested, and this is I realize it's gonna start out, Corey is crazy. I already know this. So listen to the whole statement before you're like, this guy's crazy. What I want to know is, has anybody intentionally taken a tank, used copper to, let's say, kill snails or like those seed shrimp, that's what made me think of it, intentionally used copper to kill something, and then tested for copper levels after doing big water changes and everything? Because I think, I think potentially we are too scared of this. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, ever since I've been in the hobby, people have always told me you can't use a tank for invertebrates after it's ever had copper. And I just took that at face value. There's also people that say you can never use a reptile tank as a fish tank. And I know that to be false from my own testing. Like, yes, the glass is thinner and blah, blah, blah. I just know that the way I work, I took that at face value, and I'm still taking that at face value, and I'm going, I need to test this. I need to basically set up a tank, let copper sit in it for 2 weeks at a normal treating level, kill some snails, then change water, test it. Maybe it still kills some stuff. Oh, but like, I think we could find out that maybe you could nuke a tank with some copper, And then after 800% water changes over the course of 2 weeks, it may be safe again. We also might find that it's not. I'm just wondering, has anybody actually done that specific test? Not, I don't want this. I don't want one time I treated with copper and then I put some stuff in 2 months later and it didn't do well. No, that's not the test. They literally could have died just because they were going to die. I need, like, set up the tank, treat it with copper, verify that I did it in high enough levels to kill snails. I then changed all the water twice. Then I took shrimp that I've got 10,000 in my fish room from 4 feet away, moved 5 in there. Did they or didn't they live? I need like that kind of level testing. And I want to do that because I don't know if people are doing it, or are we all just going, well, for the last 20 years, I've always heard it will just kill them and you can never. And yeah. So like, yeah, Jennifer says, I won't use copper in any of my aquariums. Too risky for me. My question is, Jennifer, have you used copper before? I have. I've used copper safe and stuff like that, but I've never, like, I wonder how many of us are going out of our way to test the LDA. What's the lethal dose rate? And because on one hand, it shouldn't be absorbing into silicone. It shouldn't be absorbing into glass and that kind of stuff. And yet, that's what this is, you know? It's like, yeah, I hear it's not good. I hear that too, but is it? Be scared of copper, be scared of salt. Yeah, I'm not scared of salt at all. Yeah, I've used copper snail killer and had invertebrates after and just never tested the levels. Yeah, I honestly, I'm not sure many people are doing the testing. And the more and more that I test crazy stuff, the more I'm like, turns out that's not true? Who knows? Let's see here. Copper water pipes. Yeah, that's so. Yes, there is copper water pipes, but also I would guess, without knowing anything, that copper straight off the factory line installed in your house probably has more copper content than copper pipes that have been in your house for 15 years. Meaning different buildup on the inside, different leaching rates, all that kind of stuff. And so I basically want to take away, here's all these things we can think of, and start putting into, yeah, but when you did it, what did it do? And I just don't think there's enough of that. Or I'm not doing enough of that. You guys might be doing all day long, you know, and you're just not reporting on it. So I don't want it to speak for you guys, but I haven't done that test, and I really feel like it could be useful for us. I'm not sure why yet, but I think it could be. Dean, warm and sunny here on the Oregon coast. I'm heading to the beach to try and dig some clams for dinner. I think I'll take you guys along with me. Yes, so when people are like, why aren't you hanging out with Dean and making videos? Because I have to compete with Dean being at his beach house where it's nice and warm, walking over to the beach, digging up clams because he's a professionally trained chef, and cooking them for him and his wife. I have to convince his wife, like, no, you should probably stay in Washington and let me invade your house. So, but we actually do have plans to meet up and do some stuff in the weeks coming. So, but that's why. It's not like Dean and I haven't had a falling out or anything like that. It's literally Dean's got a rad life. He's worked real hard his whole life, and him and his wife have put, they've got rad times. And so I got to fit in around that, Your awesome schedule where you travel the world and you speak, and then you go to your beach house, and then, you still have your daughter, and you've got your dog, and you've got your wife, and you've got your fish room, and you've got all these commitments. Can you let us in? So, yeah. I use copper in the fish room for hydra. Ram's horn lived through it, and shrimp, lived through it, and shrimp after the treatment are thriving. Yeah, so I'm just interested to see some limits. I have no doubt that a Diet Coke can full of copper in a tank kills it all. I don't doubt that. But, I doubt that maybe we don't know the correct dosage. So, like, Colin says, no planaria killed a bunch of snails in my Neo tank. So I've been trying to eliminate snails. I overdosed by a metric way too much on purpose, could not kill my snails. I was just dumping it in, like an absurd amount. Absurd amount. Water was like so milky you couldn't see into it. Snails still like, didn't faze me, bro. And we're talking weeks of this. Because, again, you read online, like, yeah, I just use it, kills my snails. I'm like, because I wanted to get a tank ready to only have shrimp. I wanted to see, because the other test I want to do is, if shrimp only tanks with actually no snails, will it actually just like, wow, it's blooming and producing so much? Or is it like, I'd rather have a little bit of fish and snails in there, have a variety, because I get 95% the same amount of baby shrimp anyway. So intentionally trying to kill the snails with no planaria with way overdosage, and I couldn't do it. So I might have super mutant snails here, I guess. Could be. What's a good copper test? I don't know. I haven't tested copper that much. Like, we sell a Fritz one. I don't have 5 test kits to like compare accuracy. So that's I guess another problem of the design of the test. Yes, the pharmacologist to me screaming, the dose makes the poison. Yeah. Dr. Box, isn't that what LDA would be? The lethal dose amount? So, like, technically water for a human, isn't there an LDA? Like, X amount of gallons actually starts shutting kidneys and stuff down. If I just drink water nonstop all day, it becomes toxic, right? So I think about everything in the world kind of has an LDA, a lethal dose. Wait, LDA. Is it LDA? Yeah. Lethal dose. I can't remember. Let me Google it. I want to put it to rest of my brain. LDA, lethal dose meaning? What does that mean? It's just LD? Why am I adding L? Am I just adding A because of like LDA plecos? Have I just completely merged everything into my brain? LDA 08 pleco, and it's supposed to be LD? Yeah, I think it's supposed to be LD. Like an LD 50, the dose in which a substance is lethal for 50% of animals tested would be LD 50. Yeah, so I think I'm just adding. Okay, Stephen P says LDA 50. What does A stand for in this thing? Maybe I'm not crazy. Is there LD and LDA? I don't know. I could be crazy. Oftentimes I am. I treated 3 10-gallon tanks with the same amount of no planaria. In one tank, all the snails died. The 2 other tanks, no snails died. I have no idea what happened. I have that same experience. Yeah, I kind of had the same thing where, yeah, I can't explain that. So I thought Steven had it. Lethal dose awesomeness. You got me with, oh, here's what it is. Yeah. LDA 50s when you eat too much Taco Bell and you get gas. That's right. According to the Army, water cures everything. I mean, most people need more water. That is true. But LDA equals lethal dose amount if you want to use the A. Okay. I was just trying to... Sometimes I learned something 15 years ago, and then in my brain it slightly changes, and then I just keep misinforming people, and I hate when I do that. And I do that, by the way. I am not perfect by any means. Like when people are like, oh, this guy is spreading misinformation. Probably every day. Every day I'm spreading misinformation unintentionally. But I will point out that probably 9 out of 10 things I say are fairly close to accurate. 1 out of 10 for sure. I can't give out information that quick all the time without prepping, I guess. LDA, like the Fonzie. That's probably what it is, I'm sure. Could also be administered, lethal dose administered. Could be that too. In my testing so far, ram's horn snails will survive no planaria pretty consistently. Mysteries and Malaysian trumpet snails basically stand no chance. Those will both die after water changes for a bit. So that's interesting. That because the ones I'm trying to find a good way to kill Malaysian trumpet snails. They literally live through bleach, where I poured in glug 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 of bleach, let it sit for 2 weeks, and they still, some of them live through it. So I'm really just trying to go, how do I, without, I don't want to just like buy a whole brand new tank and everything. I'm trying to find a way where I could do that. So my wife, I thought LDA was Legendary Detritus Association. It sponsors the Mullen podcast. That's right. That was a good one. I'm battling Colmenaris on my 2 platies with no meds. Wait, no. And no meds have stopped their fins from melting and bleeding. The female's top lip is gone. What should I do? Put them in salt. So if you have a quarantine tank, give them 1 tablespoon of salt per gallon of water. That will fight off fungus and bacteria really well. That's what I would do. If you're not getting response from medications, you could be using the wrong medications. It could be wrong dosing. It could be anything. But what doesn't really fail me is salt. So, but if you got, like, I've only got 1 tank. It's all plants. The salt will kill the plants. So, yeah. Mike Coleman said in his presentation that every time he's tried using a tank that had been previously used, he noticed his shrimp didn't reproduce as well. Yeah, and so all I'm saying is that's one vantage point. What if it was something else? Like, what if there was a different chemical in that used tank, or something else, some other coincidence? All I'm saying is I believe things when I can replicate it, both good and bad. So, you know, when you're trying to figure out like what's wrong with something, replicating how it's broken is the first thing. So if you could take known working good tanks you bought brand new, treat them with copper, and then you see, oh man, I get bad breeding rates from then on, and I A/B tested that, that's pretty conclusive. But if it's like, well, how do we know they didn't use some other crazy med? Or that tank was sealed with antifungal silicone, or, you know, just one of a billion factors we can't dream up right now. So the easiest way is to intentionally basically kill stuff. Like, I'm going to run this test. It'll be a test for everybody. I'll, you know, video it and kind of show, here's my methodology, and then people can derive what they want from it. So, yeah, copper is toxic to most plants and animals at high levels. Just depends on the animal and what concentrations. Yeah. Also, most animals will die without copper. You need some to function. Tiny amounts, but yeah. I saw a reduction in Malaysian trumpet snails after adding zebra loaches, but could also be they ate more food and the MTS slowed down. Yeah, I tried putting a tank. I got a 40 breeder, had some snails, still has snails. I can see them right now. And I put dwarf chain loaches. I put pea puffers in there, and they're still snails. And I let them sit for like 6 weeks. Still snails. So, I mean, my pea puffers weren't huge. They were pretty small, but I'm trying to still find what's the perfect little answer to this, if you will. And I haven't found it yet, but I'll let you know if I do. Best advice I've gotten actually was to use salt first. If you, well, let's talk about that. Everybody should have quarantine. Like, you should have a tank, at least 1 tank to quarantine. Using salt works well on 85+% of fish. Works really well in terms of they tolerate it. Doesn't mean it's going to necessarily solve your problem, but it is a great first step because salt is such a shotgun approach. It handles so many things. You don't have to be good at guessing what diseases are. You're just like, you know what? Start with salt. I'm getting spammed right now. Stop spamming me. So yeah, I don't think that that's necessarily bad advice. Now, There's some catfish and loaches that, yeah, don't go too hard on the salt, but you could, a YouTube, not to have a YouTuber, someone could convince me, let's say they had an audience, and if I was sitting in the audience and they said, well, I think all fish should enter a 10-gallon quarantine with 1 tablespoon of salt per 10 gallons, and they should have to sit there for a month. And I believe that that will give the chance to the average consumer to find if most diseases would present themselves, and then they followed up with, but don't forget it won't handle internal tapeworms and things, so I would treat for that my last week, but that's how I recommend everybody do it. And I'd be like, I like that advice. I agree with that advice. That advice is fine. I like it. And I wouldn't even fight them because, well, Corey, why don't you do that then? Because I can't, well, I shouldn't say I can't. We don't believe it'll be profitable to sell fish in the retail store if we have to quarantine all of them for a month. So instead, we go with a method we can do in 1 week. It's 1/4 the amount of time. Now, as a home hobbyist, I think we've got all the time in the world. But there's people that, can't even finish driving home with their tank before they're already bought fish. Like I can't come back tomorrow. That'd be insane. I'm already here. And so, trying speed, knowing that people will skip stuff that sucks. If you can make it easy, they're more likely to do it. So, but yes, a quarantine tank with some salt goes a real long way. And you can look back in lots and lots of videos over the years that I've always said, if they took away our meds or you're in a country that don't have our meds, use salt. That covers so much right out the get-go. Yes, salt is not plant safe, and even more so that you would want to quarantine. In fact, I should probably just beat the drum on quarantine more. I should beat it every day. Like, do you have your quarantine tank set up? Shame on you. And so, like, I don't go out of my way to show it because I don't have quarantine tanks. I should probably dedicate one and label it and do a bunch of this so that people realize how important it is. 'Cause I just have so many tanks that, like, this tank here is empty and it can be quarantined. I typically have one fish, one tank, even in my display tanks. Like, this is an exception, obviously, but a lot of them are just one, and so they're naturally quarantining themselves. But the fact that it quarantines without plants is important. So maybe I'll make a video on that. Maybe I'll make a video on maybe I'll quarantine the fish that I get in. I ordered Veiltail cherry barbs from Dan's Fish after the live stream because people were like, he's got them, bro. And I ordered them. And I also ordered some angelfish. Maybe I'll quarantine both of those using salt. And I'll show you guys what I do. And that'll help some people, I think. What about methylene blue? I've seen that. What does it do? It's mostly an antifungal. I'm using it on some eggs right now. And yeah. I quarantine everything, and I mean everything. Me too. Like, I think people think I say that. I do, because there's nothing worse than getting stuff sick that's worth lots of money that you search for a long time. And no, like, for me, the reason I really do it is because all my tanks are on camera. When I screw up, everybody sees it. They go, oh, look at that guy, he's real dumb. There's no shortage of people going, I'd have done it differently. Like, there's a million of you guys doing that. Oh man, I'd have done that different. Yes. When you watch someone stub their toe or trip, you instantly go, huh. But then you also know, like, yeah, that can happen to people. Like, you can't always never trip. Like, you're gonna trip. So yeah, I try very hard not to put myself in situations where it's like, oh, I didn't quarantine enough, I got sick, blah, blah, blah. If anything, you guys let me know I'm moving too slow. Let's see. Learn the hard way to need to quarantine shrimp. Scuturilla japonica. So common in Neos. Can be, yeah. Can plants have ick on them and transfer to fish? This is one of those. Technically, yes. Practically, not really. Technically, yes. Technically, a plane could crash into here and the live stream ends. Technically, but the odds are so low that I'm not going to be looking for a plane all day, right? I always ask them how'd that feel. And they stub their toe. How's that feel? Not good. How about barbs with goldfish? Those long-tailed cherry barbs would look great with shabunkins. I think they're too small body. They'll get swallowed by the shabunkins eventually, or could. One person was laying into me because they rosy barbs and goldfish, like, that's terrible. Mine's eating all the fins. And all I responded with, act like, cool, mine aren't. Like, so much of keeping animals together is personality. Like, my dog loves cats. My dog eats them. Like, yes, they're different. Like that. You can give recommendations. Like, on average, I would say most people can keep dogs and cats in the same house. Mine aren't. My uncle can't. Like, I said most. Didn't say, I train my dog to eat cats. So, like, yes, then yours won't be one of those. I don't know what to tell you. Everyone will have different experiences, and it's way different. Is it a big tank, a small tank? Are your shabunkins this big or this big? There's a lot of stuff that goes into everything. And that's how every fish YouTuber can be both right and wrong every day. Because more information changes things. Do you ever think Cardinia shrimp will ever evolve to handle hard water? I do. I think it'll get there. My cat tries to eat my dog. Well, see? There you go. We got white clouds now. Yeah. So the other thing, like, with shabunkins and cherry barbs, I think cherry barbs like to be a little bit warmer than shabunkins like to be. Not that they couldn't handle it. But, like, white clouds, well, why can you recommend that, Corey? Like, they could get swallowed too. Like, one, yes, they're cheaper. Two, on average, they're not long fins, so they swim faster and can get away a little bit easier. And three, they can go cooler water. So they're a little more comfortable at lower levels. And I do believe that most fish tolerate one level of stress. So if they're out of their comfort zone in temperature, you also don't want them being chased by shabunkins. That's two, and then they're going to start getting sick. So, yeah, there's always room for error. You see it all done. There's going to be someone keeping arowanas and goldfish mixed with red-tailed cats, mixed with saltwater fish, mixed with their dog, all in the same aquarium. And you're like, I don't know. You try enough things, crazy stuff happens, right? I designed and printed a light for my aquarium using PLA and normal LED white bulbs. What do you think about using a regular light bulb? Yeah, they're very efficient. So I like the little curly Q ones, the CFLs. They grow plants really well in my experience. And I would say this. I have lost touch with true DIY. Out of necessity. What does that mean, Corey? That means I literally can't afford lights. I'm going to buy a $2 light bulb and a $2 light socket, and I'm going to build a housing. That's a $6 light. I haven't been in that mode for probably 15 years, so I evaluate off-the-shelf lights because I love good lighting. That doesn't mean I don't like to find a good light at a cheaper price. It's just when you're in that super duper DIY mode, you learn things that, like, the dull side of foil reflects more light than the shiny side. What? And then you're like, oh, should I use foil or should I use the metal tape? The metal tape's so much easier, but it's shiny. And then you start going, well, I can create different angles by doing these things and these things. That's true kind of DIY, down and dirty, maximizing lowest dollars in, maximum outcome. And as I've aged, like every human on the planet, basically every year you get older, you make a little bit more money. And you'd be like, I haven't got a raise in 10 years. Yes, but on average, on all humans, every year older, you have a little bit more experience and your potential to earn more money goes up a little bit. And so naturally you see like, yep, had to eat top ramen and build my own lights. And then I had to eat XYZ and I bought the cheapest light I could find. Then there's the arc of, hey, then I was eating okay. And then I started buying kind of value lights. And then there's eventually like, hey, I'm retired and I'm going to die before I spend all my money. I'm buying twin star lights because why not? Right? There's that arc. And everybody's in that arc somewhere. Some people are ahead, some people are behind. Doesn't matter. Could change tomorrow. You know, there's an inheritance. There's a new job opportunity. You could get laid off. But what I'm saying is it's been about 15 years since I've had to really go, well, how do I maximize a CFL bulb? But I'll tell you this, I do have the experience, and CFL bulbs grow plants awesome, just like pretty much every other light. So you're basically choosing, do I want to click a button and it shows up at my door? Do I want to get my hands dirty and really work with it? Do I want to do other stuff? And yeah. Austin Rooks, I just want to say, I enjoy your avatar. It's a black lotus. What temps do you keep my rosy barbs? Have you noticed any differences with temp? No, I keep them fish room temp. What temp is it in here right now, Corey? Well, I'll tell you. I will tell you right now. I can tell you in my tanks. Let me pull up my app. I don't do anything for myself. It's always an app now. My 40 breeders are at 72.1 degrees. My air temperature in here right now is 75.4. And my guppy rack over there is at 75.6. So right behind me, top's done up really well. It's probably more at about 75 degrees. But I'll let them go as low as 71. White paint is the most reflective. That potentially could be true. The trick is you actually don't want reflection. You want dispersion. Is that what it is? When you buy a high-end reflector, all those dimples, that makes it so the light actually bounces and gets into the tank as opposed to, is it a parabolic reflector? I haven't had to buy reflectors. Yeah. So high-end lighting, when you used to make CFLs and like, what was it? Age Supply? Does that exist? Does anyone remember when we had to make our own stuff from Age Supply? AH Supply? Does that still exist? Oh my gosh, does it? Nope, that's Animal Habitat Supply. That is not H. No, it is. Wait, maybe. Hold on. Is it? No, I think somebody else is just... No, I don't think that's actually them. Anyway, H Supply, they would sell you ballast. They would sell you little fixtures. They would sell you housings. They would sell you different types of reflectors, all this stuff. And we were just trying to maximize light for plants and everything. And even a well-bent reflector still didn't do as well as a parabolic reflector. And so when you're actually using lighting, let's say you've got mirrors. And you think like, that's real reflective. It's a mirror. Well, the problem is, I have a bad example here. Like, let's say this is your light. This thing right here is your light, and it has light coming out. And this is my mirror. Well, the light just keeps bouncing back and forth infinitely. It never moves. It just goes, yep, bounce, bounce, never goes in the tank. So what you actually need is a rough surface so that it bounces, and then it's like it bounces out, then lands here, bounces out, then lands here, then bounces out, then goes into the tank. And so you need that dimply surface so that the light that would be trapped up here, just going back and forth, actually finds a way into the aquarium. How to lower pH to 5? Most people are going to start using acids, I think, like citric acids and stuff. I've never needed to bring it down that low for myself. CFL bulbs do take away the urge to run your light too bright like LEDs. Yes. I think a sweet spot was Curly Q CFL bulbs. Compact fluorescence, like the 96 watts with big reflector stuff, I think still put too much light in. But that cheap Curly Q bulb, I think, goes pretty far. They're kind of getting hard to get. Now it's mostly LEDs, even the Curly Q. So, hello from Greece. Where is Murphy? Murphy is dead. He unfortunately passed away. Um, yeah, he was kind of refusing to eat, not doing well for a long time, and the big bummer is we never figured it out. With everybody working there, with me, everybody, yeah, it sometimes you just can't figure it out. That's always the big bummer, especially when everyone's watching. Like, what are you gonna do? I don't know. We're trying everything. Like, oh. Do I like to invest in real estate, Corey? No, I actually hate it. Let me preface that because people will be like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's such a fool, as always. Basically, my liquid assets, if I have any, or my assets, I like them to be fairly liquid so that they can invest into Aquarium Co-op products. Because my return on an Aquarium Co-op product, I am more likely to beat a return on real estate or the stock market or something like that. But there's only so many ideas, only so many things we can deploy. So some assets do have to live. Like I have retirement. But no, in general, I don't like real estate because it has upkeep and everything. And I also don't like having debt. And in my opinion, the only way to do real estate well is to use other people's money and have debt. So, like the easy way, we'll break it down. Let's say you had $100,000, you stick it in a savings account right now. End of the year, you got $4,500, right? And let's say you bought a house that was $100,000, and you had to put 5% down, so you had to invest $5,000, and the bank loans you the rest of the money. Well, when the house goes up, right? Now it's been a year, it's worth some more money. You get the full benefit of how much it went up, but you only had to invest $5,000. That sounds great. The problem is not liquid, so you can't put it into a good idea or anything like that. Also, you can't, like, what do I want to say here? You owe property taxes on that money that you would have made, right? You have got an interest rate as well, and you might have PMI. And so in aggregate, you get someone who buys $1 million home, they have to put $200K of their own money into it. It over 5 years goes up to $1.2 million, and they have gained $200,000 in 5 years, which they wouldn't have been able to do off of just their $200,000. But then you have to subtract, costs because, well, maybe you tried to rent it out and you had a renter, but you had a renter only 19 out of 20 months, and you had to replace the thing and all of that. And so you end up doing a bunch of work, and then you may have beaten the stock market that year or something else. Maybe not, because maybe the stock market was horrible that year and your real estate wasn't. But I'm just not someone who's into real estate. Instead, I would rather invest in a sponge filter and go, hey, let's try to sell. Let's try to make a good thing better. And I basically am betting on me and my team instead of betting on stock market or real estate that I really have no control over. Anyone who thinks they have control doesn't really. There's definitely, the more money you have, the more odds you can do good real estate and bail yourself out. Like if you have $40 billion, if you buy an extra house, it's probably impossible for you to lose money on it. Just because you're like, oh, well, the market was down for 15 years. Like, doesn't matter. You have an infinite timeline. But if you only had that money and it's down, you had to sell, then you could lose, right? So, not really into that. I really like curly bulbs and dislike the LEDs. I'm coming around on LED. I like LED. I do like the curly bulbs a lot. They were a good time, and I do think most people could get away with that, and it would do pretty well. But you got to do a lot of DIY. I like that, Candy. Corey's retirement, the Easy Flow sponge filter. That is true. That is true. My retirement right now is actually uh, all the products on the water. So that would be sponge filters, but also brine shrimp eggs and other stuff. I had to liquidate retirement funds to put it back into the business last year to cover things while we were running two warehouses, while we were paying out severances to the employees that lost their jobs in Washington, all of that. I invested $400,000 back into the business, and yeah, so we're hoping that pans out. We're hoping that pans out here. There's some tariffs and there's some other stuff, but yeah, I'm guessing you guys want some more brine shrimp, so it's on the way. Yeah, productive investment. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I'm hoping that I can make the hobby a little bit better, and you guys want to buy my crap, and that at the end of it, hey, we did better. We did 5% gain. All right. Just purchased a bunch of plants and other items. Coming Friday. All right, sock that in the retirement. Nerm's about to buy all those brine shrimp eggs. Yes, that's true. We bought several months worth, but the demand is pent up, and I'm worried that I'm gonna have to order just like a buttload more, like in the week after it lands. We're gonna try to not have to do that, but got to do what you got to do, right? What's the best amount of lighting time for plants? Uh, Picking a time and sticking with it. For me, on average, that's either 10 or 12 hours. Well, is one better than the other? Not really, because you will adjust everything else to that, whether it's uh, the food, as in the fertilizer, the CO2, or the light intensity. I'm just turning on. I'm gonna turn my AC on. I'm getting red in the face, getting hot in here. So I'm gonna turn on that AC. Start sipping them pennies down. Oh, I went too far. That's why. Power on. Power on. There we go. Speaking of the sponge filter, my 20 long with the substrate depth, I'm struggling to get the top curve part into the water as instructed. Any guidance? Yeah, so for a 20 long, you want to use the garbage can where you just slide the 20 long straight into the garbage. I just don't like that tank, even though I just set one up. You want a small. So you would think a nano would be smaller. Nanos are a little bit narrower and taller, where the small is actually a little bit shorter. And then if you haven't after that, so maybe you're like, I do have the small, Corey, too tall. Then watch the video on the website, and we show you actually how to shorten all the tubes so they could fit. Because we tried to make like a one size fit all, basically, in it'll handle small tanks all the way to big tanks, right? And so on that smallest end, like, yeah, you have to do a little bit of modification to get it to fit with substrate. It will fit a 10 or a 20 long with no substrate, but once you put the substrate in, especially if you're like, oh, I put it in pretty thick, you have to do a little bit of modification there. It's really actually pretty easy, so don't worry. You can do it with like a steak knife if you needed to, but yeah, a little bit of trimming, and then you can get what you want going. Why don't I like 20 longs? Mostly because they're a pain in the butt to filter. You don't get a good viewing window. Everybody thinks they're amazing, and I watch people struggle. People are like, I would never keep a 20 high instead of a 20 long, and I would take a 20 high every time. Every time. So you've got a tank that's this tall, right? It's 12 inches tall. You put in 2 to 3 inches of substrate. Well, now you're down to 9 inches. You have an inch from the top. Now you're down to 8 inches. Your fish have to live in this. And then you're like, well, I got to put a hut in there. And then I got to put plants. You're like, your fish are like in this. It's like the width of a belt is like their free space. And then if you go, well, 20 long, they can't swim as far. Like, yeah, but now they don't have to live in a belt. They can live in like a 10-inch section of your tank almost. It's like 6 inches, but I just prefer it. It's a preference thing is really all it is. And yeah, so I feel like vertical is underrepresented. And what does that mean? That means people only have so many square feet in their house. The taller you go, kind of the more you can utilize it, right? So, for instance, imagine this tank's 2 feet tall. What if it was 1 foot tall? That would be the 20 long, but now it's 12 feet long. Well, now I can't have this table over here, and I couldn't have a couch. Like, that would be worse, right? So there's obviously a ratio. So imagine your car, right? If your car was 30 feet long, but you had to like lie in it like your bed to drive it, not as good, right? So there's clearly a height to width ratio, and I think the 20 long blows that out for me. Same like the 33 long. Now, why do you set up a 20 long, Corey? Because I'm hatching fry in cups this big, and so anything taller does not help me at all. I won't even be looking through the front. Won't matter. So yeah, that's... Do I love 10s? I love 10s on their end, right? 10s, you see my rack, I only have a window this big. Do I love that? I do love that. But the other thing is, a 10 is like 1/3. It's at least half price, if not 1/3 the price. The value on a 10 is pretty high. The value on a 20 long, not very high. 20 long, it's like half the manufacturers don't even make lights for 20 longs. Fluval, tripping. So you run into like all these things and just like, ugh. Like also again, 10 can filter with one filter pretty easy. 20 long, well now I kind of need one at each end, and I got to make sure the water's moving. I got to do all these things. So yeah, I like 20 longs for shell dwellers. I don't even like that. I'd much rather have a 29. You replace that with a 29, you put some rocks in, you grow the Anubias on top of the rocks, and now you put guppies, rainbows, or cyprichromis above the shell dwellers. Infinitely better tank, in my opinion. Yeah, that's just the way I feel. I've done it. I would wager I've owned more 20 longs than most people here. You know, the amount I've sold, the amount I've bought from stores, all that. And every time I set one up, I'm just like, oh, I wish this is like anything but this 20 long. I'll take a 10 gallon over a 20 long half the time, honestly. Honestly, I would. 29 king of tanks. 29 is one of the best tanks ever made. When families ask me what tank should we buy, I say a 29. It's big enough that if you're only a casual hobbyist, you could have that in your living room, you're proud of it, you enjoy it, you got your 29, and that's what you got. Anything below that, if you like the hobby, you have to upgrade because you're like, oh, this is not good enough, right? And I think the difference in price between a 20 long and a 29, not very much. And the fact that you're going to have to use the extra filtration, you're going to have to try to find a light that's 30 inches, all of that becomes more justifiable at the 29 level as opposed to the 20 long level, in my opinion. You get a much better viewing window. There's so many perks about a 29 compared to a 20 long, in my opinion. How accurate are your test strips? Depending on who you ask. If you ask someone who doesn't like us, so the worst things we've ever made. If you ask the water departments around the country, buying them 50 to 100 bottles at a time, they like them. If you ask me, I would tell you I've bought several lab grade solutions and tested our strips against them, and they're crazy accurate. But also know that the average human is bad at testing things. And so, like, following directions, actually timing yourself, especially with, like, liquid kits. Like, there's a bunch of factors, but I'll say this. Used correctly, ours seemingly are reliable. And I say seemingly, it makes it sound like being extra cryptic, because if I rail on it too hard, there'll be people that go out of the way to, like, prove that it's not accurate. Like, yes, versus your spectrometer, it's not accurate, fool. No one's got a spectrometer at their house. Now, there are corner cases where people have really weird water. Some people can't even drink their own tap water. It comes out brown. There's people with weird water where, like, I tested, it's doing a weird thing. I can't explain some of those. But I will say we sell an insane amount of them. And overall, like, we don't hide the reviews. Like, they're just there. So if people hate them, they'll let us know and they'll let you guys know. Like, I'll look at the reviews right now. Watch, they're like terrible. Like, oh no, what have I done? Let's go to water care supplies. If we look at the multi-test strips, they have 1,141 reviews, right? Seemingly over 1,000 different people have weighed in. What do they think about these things? And I can tell you that 983 of them gave them 5 stars. 74 people gave them 4 stars. 38 people gave them 3. 24 gave them 2. And 22 people gave it 1 star. So that's my feedback, is like, depending on who you ask, yeah. Do I use them to run my whole fish room and my whole store? Yes. Do I trust them? You better believe it. I definitely do. Yeah, Casey's on a roll. 5 more. 5 more memberships. What pH do you recommend, pH-wise, for Geophagus tapajos? Somewhere between 7 and like 7.8. If you said, my tap water's 7.7, I'd be like, cool, just don't do anything. If you said, my tap water's 7.1, I'd be like, cool, don't do anything. If you said, my tap water's 6.9, and I really hate altering, I'd be like, cool, don't do anything. Mine's 8.2, it'll be fine. Mine's 11.6, like, okay, well, or it's 4, like, okay. But most fish live in this giant range. And we get all up in our minds going, no, there's no way. Meanwhile, if you're like a wholesaler, and you're like, well, I ship it to every state in the country, and every store is different, and they're all doing great. Yeah. You might get a little bit different when you get into breeding some of the harder stuff, but for the most part. Do our test strips compare to API? No, because API's test strips are garbage. Their liquid kits, thumbs up, pretty good. Their test strips, in my testing, terrible. Other test strips that I've tested, Tetras, also good. Mardell, so like Fritz Mardell, bad. Liquid kits, good, right? And that's just in my testing. Could my water be altering at all? Could I be dumb and just doing it wrong? Yes. Do I think flu balls are terrible? No. I think the instructions are terrible. Like, I want to say their ammonia kit is like a 15-minute process. I got to look this up. I remember when they wanted me to sell it, I was like, are you crazy? One of them is like such an absurd length of time that I was like, who's doing this? See if I can find the instructions on these things. Instruction manual. Let's see if this... I think it's the ammonia one. I gotta like zoom in. This is real tiny here. Instructions. Where are you? So let's see. How does the test work? Take a sample of 5 milliliters. Makes sense. Add 7 drops of reagent number 1 in the test tube. Insert the cap. Hold it in place with a finger and shake it well to mix. Yeah, that makes sense. Add 7 drops of reagent 2. Insert the cap. Hold in place and shake well to mix. Add 7 drops of reagent 3. Do the same thing. Yeah, so here's Fluval's ammonia test kit. 3 different reagents, so 3 different bottles of drops, right? Then step number 5, wait 20 minutes for color to develop and then match it to the chart. Like, that's just, no, nobody's doing that. The only people that are doing that bought it at a store, got it home, was like, oh, it's the only kit I got. I guess I'm starting up the tank. I guess I'll do that. And then one day they learn, like, wait, I can get test strips that test this in under 60 seconds? Why wouldn't I do that? This is literally a 22-minute process at best to see with your ammonia. Can you imagine if you have multiple tanks? Like, stuff like that, I'm just like, no, terrible. Literally terrible. Because I don't care if it's the most accurate thing in the world. You're like, you know what? Takes 6 years, but it's the most accurate nitrate test on the planet. Like, yeah, but no one's going to do it. No one's got a tank 6 years old even. Do you even test, bro? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, it's products like that where I'm just like, who took this to market? Who was like, yeah, 22-minute ammonia tests? We're into that. Ain't stores. There's no way I'd use that in my store. Well, hold on. Keep shopping. I will have a result for you in 22 minutes. Oh, that sounds great. That's one way to put yourself out of business. Why is it hard to find fish nerds in real life? Almost none of my real life friends are into it, hence why I come here. I don't know. I think you got to hang out at a fish store. I think the best way is local clubs if you can find some of those. Um, you could try the forum as well. But why I got into fish, maybe this will shed some insight. I really got into fish because I was working a lot, and I was working a lot of overtime when I was on call. And it was a hobby that I could get into and do at 10 o'clock at night or 7 p.m. or whenever, right? Where, like, going to the movies, I remember this happened. Katie and I went to the movies, and 20 minutes into it, I got the call. I literally had to go do my job. Missed the movie. So you stop doing things like that, and you start looking for hobbies. Like, you would think, like, what about WoW or EverQuest or some kind of game? Like, you can't be like, oh, I'm going to go on a raid. Sorry, guys, got to go. Like, that just makes people angry. So that's where I got into fish, because fish was like, oh, I can pick it up and put it down at any time. I can do it late at night. Let's say, because maybe I was on call, like I did my normal work setup, and then I work till 9. I still want to unwind and do something. Like, hey, I'll play with the fish tanks. Is that an actual emoji? Do we have that emoji? That was like an aquarium co-op heater with a heating up. Does that emoji actually exist? I just have never seen it in a long time. I gotta see now. Or did like someone find a way to like make that? Do we have the heating up emoji? Let's see. We do. No one like ever uses that emoji, like ever. That's a rarely used emoji right there. Who knew? Forgot about that one. Let's see. The live streams and YouTube in general keep me motivated. Me too. When I see other people doing stuff, like, I should do that. Ooh, that looks cool. I'm gonna do that. What's even more motivating, if you don't know, local clubs even more motivating for me. Stores are motivating for me as well. Forum also. Denise donating 5 memberships. Well, thank you, Denise. I appreciate that. I've got a new 20-gallon tank. I'm wondering what to put in it. I need a schooling fish with some center fish. What are my recommendations? I'm thinking about 3 blue gouramis and cory cats. I would do like one of the gouramis, a school of cory cats, and pick a schooling fish of your flavor. Right now, my flavor would be cherry barbs. First stream I've caught. Why don't you like Oscars? Heard you talk about them before, but never really heard why. It's just not my cup of tea. They look okay. I wild caught one, kept one for a while. They don't play around with plants well, so that's one ding against them. They get kind of big. That's like another ding. If you breed them, you kind of made a problem. As in, like, what are you gonna do with 5,000 Oscars? So it's not that it in itself is a bad fish. It's just not a fish I like to keep. Yeah. Kind of the same reason I don't own a Great Dane. I think they're amazing, and it's really cool when other people own them. I think it would break my heart to, like, they only live like 8 to 10 years. Like, that would, where my little chihuahuas live 18 to 20. So, Ross, Baltimore, just bought my pair of purple sailfin gudgeons from Dan's Fish. 1 pair left on the site. I was tempted to buy those and just troll Candy with like, oh, I love purple sailfin gudgeons. I hate peacock gudgeons. Hopefully you use the Aquarium Co-op code, save yourself 5%. Yeah, I guess I could actually see. I think I get to see if people buy that kind of stuff. I'd have to look at, although I don't want to put you on blast. If you use someone else's code, then it's going to make me look like a jerk. So I'm not trying to do that either. I won't look. Do cherry barbs do well with guppies? I don't know that I have enough experience to actually answer that. I think they can do okay because they don't have the super nippy behavior that a lot of like tiger barbs would. But until I've kept that, I'm hesitant to be like, yeah, that'll be just fine. I definitely, longfin barbs are going to be slower, so I like that aspect. And being that guppies are slow. Yeah, I can't say for sure. It's worth a try, though, I think. I would try it. Hit that like button, yeah. I can't believe it's been 3 years already. And also, what tetra would you put with Bolivian rams, zebra loaches, and goodeids? Uh, right now, if I was buying a tetra, I would buy gold tetras. Dean got some from my store. I saw we have some more in my store. I told Dean, I'm like, you got to breed these. Like, they're getting harder and harder to get, and they are cool. I would do gold tetras. Next time I use Steenfot code, well, good. Steve. Steenfot needs that click, so good on you. Not that that makes it sound weird. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm basically trying to say, like, cool, you use someone I know. I like that. That's what I'm trying to say. I made it weird there. Wasn't my intention. Oh yeah, the peppermill tetras at $70 each on Dan's Fish. It's too rich for my blood, but that's almost like a birthday fish or something. Like, if my wife's listening, don't buy that for my birthday. But I'm trying to think of, like, where would that make sense? If your family got together and, like, I'll buy him one, I'll buy him one, I'll buy him one. Pretty soon you got a group of like 5 of those. That'd be pretty cool. They look really cool. I don't know. I want to keep them in person. I haven't. They just look really cool on the. Sometimes it's a good picture. So, but they look cool. Where was I? Thoughts on white clouds in a 10-gallon? Heck yeah, do it. Minimum size for a 29-gallon or for a goldfish tank, 29 gallons. Well, let me back that up. For how long? Right? Up to maybe a year or two, 29. Also depends, fancy or single tail. That also matters. But in general, if someone walked in my store and they go, hey, I want to do one of these things, I would say, yeah, let's start with a 29 with being able to upgrade down the road. Yeah. Can I provide you with a 3D rendering of my face? I want to add it to a 3D printed Corridora and make Corridoras. So maybe there's nerds here that know way more than I do about 3D printing, which is always helpful to me. Are there cheap devices to scan my face? I am finding myself going, I would love to make this pen. Could I scan this thing and then 3D print a blank of this pen? Like, I realize it wouldn't be the inside and everything, but there's times where I want to mock stuff up, like trying to think of a good example that I've run into. I don't have one, but if I need to mate up a part, right? Like, ooh, I want to mate this part. Like, let's say I wanted to try 3D printing this or something. Is there I'm envisioning, like, you put it on a thing and a laser or it spins and then it gives you a thing that somehow isn't too much work to actually print. It might be 11 steps, in which case I won't do it. But yeah. What is this? My wife is being super wife. She just dropped off my water test kit to be analyzed by the German company, and now she's getting the tires swapped from winter tires to summer tires, so I don't have to be involved. So thank you for that. Hopefully they'll do it quick so she doesn't have to sit there all day. Trying to think where I'm at. Super wife dropping off peppermill tetras. Yeah. The problem is I really like fish that I can spawn. I get a lot of enjoyment out of, can I spawn these fish? And so I really enjoy it. And I'm real lazy / don't have a lot of time. And so I'm afraid that, like, I'll probably never spawn these Bertrade tetras. I'd probably never spawn those peppermill tetras. Like, yeah, kind of just don't have time for it. My discus laid eggs for the first time. They're all gone the next day, hoping to get my first ever discus spawn. Yeah, we've got someone local in the club raising them up on only the Magic Small Fish feed, which is pretty cool. So that takes a layer out of it. Especially, Tyler, I know you travel a lot. Getting someone else to feed just like a dry food, way easier than, like, I'm going to need you to hatch brine this week while I'm gone every day. Like that's a tall order. You gotta get someone from like the fish club to fill in on that. How can I get some more suction with my Python? I only use the kitchen sink. Being that my tanks are so close to it, is there a trick or something that I can do to help? So one, never use the sink or the faucet to actually create the siphon. So there are people that like they turn the water on and they just let it run the whole time. That they're gravel vacuuming, and so that's a horrible waste of water. My advice is take your gravel into like a laundry basin, and have a power head pumping the water to your garden or in the drain, wherever you want it to go. You can go to your sink, doesn't matter. You'll get really good siphon, basically water with gravity, real efficient. So if your sink is this high and your tank is this high, and then the tube goes like this, gravity's not really working for you. When the tube only has to go down into the basin, I would say bucket, but buckets, they fill up too fast, you don't use them. You get really good, strong siphon there. So, let's see. Please check the QA on pearlweed. I have 4 pots of it, and all came looking unhealthy and very small. Others have had this issue as well. Yeah, as Candy said, message us. We'll definitely take care of you, but also know that all pearlweed comes in super tiny. So our picture probably shows it a little bit bigger, but depending on time of year. So order it in the middle of summer, it's going to come in too big. You're going to complain like it's 12 inches, too big. And so, yeah, but if you're not happy, especially if it's unhealthy, yes, sometimes stuff happens in shipping. Every once in a while, something misses. Our people are doing QA checks. That happens too. But yeah, leave feedback also. Like, I'm not hiding from anything. If your plant comes in, you're not satisfied, hit us up. We'll try to make you happy. If you're still not satisfied, leave reviews, ask for your money back, do all of that. I'll say this. This is going to sound like Corey's just defending himself. I'll just say that live products are horrible, and we should just stop doing it. We have meetings once a quarter at least going, should we just never sell plants again? And we then deliberate for 4 hours and barely come out on the side of selling plants because we don't really make money on it, and it's always a giant problem. That being said, we do ship, like last month, we shipped, I think it's 19,000 plants. And so when you do that math, right? So 19,000 divided by 30 days, that's 633 plants a day. I do think some are going to slip through the cracks. Like, it's inevitable, right? So if, let's say, we had a 3% defect rate on a product, now it's a plant, right? So 19,000, right, times 0.03, that'd be 570 plants that we ship out every month that, yeah, are going to need replacements or refunds. And that doesn't even include things that, like, got lost in shipping or got way too hot or froze to death. Like, things are going to happen. Live products are hard. So really all I'm saying is, man, that's a bummer. I'm aware. We go through reports all the time. And we will definitely reship or take care of you. And if you don't like that, well, you probably will like a refund, or you'll like one of those items. But if you didn't like that, still, like, yeah, leave your review and don't buy that plant again from us. But yeah, with the way shipping and just everything's going, it literally is like, the conversation is like, does it make sense to even sell plants, honestly? Like, does it even make sense? And it's like, is it losing us money? Like, well, I can't say specifically it's losing us money. Is it making us money? Well, I can't specifically say it's making us money. When you start factoring in, like, van maintenance, driving to the airport twice a week, paying the person to do it, the gas involved, the shipping to get it there on the plane, and then you've got how many are coming in damaged and that we're having to throw away, and then we're shipping, how many are getting lost or, not shipping quite well. And when we look at it, we're just like, think it's still a good thing to be doing, but if a big domino was to happen, like for instance, Tropica plants got 25% more expensive to us. You'll probably notice we did not up the price 25% to you guys. So we took away more of the margin, but it also rose at that like, is this worth doing still? And so how do we fight back with that, Corey? Well, here's what we do. We do things like, yeah, you got to spend at least $20 now, because there was lots of people just ordering one plant. And when you order one plant and we give you a free liner and a free heat pack, and then we pay $14 to ship it, we literally just lose $2 or $3. So then we're like, well, if they buy at least 2 plants, like at the $20 level, that will solve our problems. And then we don't have to look at it like, are we doing this? And so far, we have always come down on the side of, yes, we believe in planted aquariums. I love them. I do them. And we need to make sure they stay not costing us money, because there are people that will ship shady things and do things of like the switcheroo, or we'll take an order for $400, or not $400, but like $100, and we'll refund half of it, and we'll still ship the other part, and there'll be substitutions, and we shipped you one bare root crypt that was this big for $4 as opposed to other things, right? So we're trying to compete with all of that, with a lot of buyers not knowing that a pot full of crypts is different than one bare crypt. But they're going, well, the bare crypt's $5 and yours is $8. Like, yeah, but you get 9 crypts for the price of it's like $1 crypt. You're paying $5 for a crypt over here. So, the best things, if usually people go, well, how can we help, Corey? Like, the best things you can do, help yourself, help us, help the environment. Order like 6 plants instead of like 1. That helps. Because 1 heat pack for 30 plants or 1 plant, all the same. So that helps a lot. Liners go up to about 10 plants. After 10, we go to 2 liners. 10 to 12, depends on the size of the plants. Some plants are smaller than others. Vallisneria long, right? So those things will help as well. But just know that we try really hard, and it's a live product, and it's incredibly difficult. We're constantly tuning the algorithms and other things, trying to make it better and better and better. Because if we don't, like, we're shipping 19,000 plants, we can go out of business if we don't do it well. So, do we want to grow them better, and do we want you to be happier? Person that was talking earlier that I lost your name, 100% we do. Noted, and Candy's here, I'm here, and every time anyone leaves a review or emails us, it literally gets logged, categorized, and we analyze the data every week. So you don't even have to make a complaint. You could just be like, just letting you know. You could say, this many reshipped. This many got delayed in transit. This many sold. This many got thrown away. I can tell you right now that internally for product, I saw this come through earlier today. I can tell you we have plant removal form. Gets submitted to me and Randy every time one happens. So we took 88 Bacopa caroliniana out because the bottom stems were rotting. Now, the rest of the plant is good, and we've got lots more in stock, but sometimes what happens for us is we probably ordered 700 Bacopa each week, right? And when it's shipping to us, it can be right next to a thing of frozen crab or whatever. And that one box will be at a different temperature, have a different thing. And like, why did we lose like just this? Out of 700, we lost 88? Like, that's weird. It's in the whole same system. Just weird stuff happens. Or it was sitting on the top on the runway, right? And so the sun was beating down on that one and overcooked. Today, we damaged out 88 Bacopa carolinianas. And then we also, what else did we do? We did 40 baby tears. So 40 of those also got damaged out. And then you'll also notice on some things, so with the live goods, what makes it extraordinarily hard is we want to sell them in this window. So when they come in, this crypt might look great. 2 weeks later, it looks puny because it fully converted. Well, now it doesn't look like the picture, and people will complain. So we take the converted crypts that didn't sell quite at the rate we wanted them to, whether it's a weather event, whether we bought too many, whether just for some reason people didn't buy them. Maybe we had something else. Maybe the video came out and everyone bought Cryptnuri because Corey was talking about Cryptnuri or something. And we put that into the members only scratch and dent. So like right now we have $5, well, your cost if you're a member, $4.74 potted cryptocorns that are, I shouldn't say mostly transition, in some form of transitioning. So the roots are really healthy, and you can get mystery converting crypt when dead eyes for $4.74 with your member discount. Now, if you're not a member, you can't buy them. It's member only because we don't want random person just found the company, buys one and goes, hey, this isn't big and bushy like the ones I bought last time. We need you guys to know, and it's got a disclaimer that says these are converting crypt when dead eyes. Could be red, could be bronze, could be greens. Any of those. They're mixed up and they're cheap. There's even 5 reviews on them. 5 people have left reviews on them. And that's just one of the perks of being a member. And yeah. People say, bought some new plants for my aquarium. Hope they'll survive. A little melted from the heat pack. This one said, I bought 7 of these now. They all came in looking great and were mostly converted already. I plan on buying mystery crypts in the future. As a co-op YouTube member, I was able to buy the scratch and dent plant. It was a melting crypt. Now looks amazing. I ordered 9 of these pots. I took a chance and it's paying off well. So, you know, we try really hard, but live goods at scale, real difficult to do well long term. So just trying to explain some of the process and knowing that, like, I have no doubt that if I had to make 19,000 turkey sandwiches in a month, I'd probably screw up some of the turkey sandwiches. And like, yes, it's a cost of doing business. And the minute you go, Corey, you forgot the thing on my sandwich, or Corey, this bread, is it a little stale? Ooh, I mixed up. Yes, let me refund your money or make you a new sandwich. That's basically what I'm saying, is we will make it right. Whereas, like, I don't know, this fish food right here, right? This food is basically going to be good to go. Just on the shelf, goes in, boom. There's not a lot of variance in it. So, can endlers and standard guppies crossbreed? Yes, they can. They make things like tiger endlers and pingu guppies and things like that. Casey gifted another 5 memberships. Well, there you go. You could buy more mystery crypts. That's right. So, why do we have mystery crypts? Maybe that's a question no one's asked, but I could tell you why. Mystery crypts used to just go to our retail store. When the retail store and the warehouse were 20 minutes away, we would just be like, send these to the store. People can buy them in person. They can see it and they can buy it. Or we can grab bag them, or we can do anything we want. It doesn't make sense now to ship them all the way to Washington to then try and sell them that way. Like, it economically doesn't make sense. So that's why we're going, well, what are we going to do with these? Like, they're not bad. They're actually better, but they have the wrong looking thing. So, yeah. The Bacopa Caroliniana from you guys was my only problem. 3/4 of the stems came in and had the rotten bottom stems. Yeah, stem plants in general, like, this is why I wish I didn't sell them, because it would just be easier and it wouldn't come off like, oh, he's just trying to protect himself. In general, stem plants, they're just a cutting thrown into wok wool or rubber banded, and you need to nurse them when you get them, basically. Like, floating them, planting them, like, shipping a living stem thing through the mail is asking for it to break. Like, that's just what happens. So when people go, hey, my thing's broken, I want a new one, we go, okay. Meanwhile, we know, like, if you float in your tank, you'll have 300 linear feet of Bacopa in 2 months. But we just go, customer's order, right? Like, okay, here's your money back, or here's another one, whatever you'd like. That'll do. Corn in my salmon chowder? How dare you? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying right there. But, in a perfect world, we'd have no rot and no melt and we wouldn't have storms or heat or cold or all that. It's pretty tricky to, we're actually getting into the season right now where it's my favorite. Less heat packs, no liners, plants ship the best. And then you get into summer where some plants can melt. You get in the winter where some plants can freeze. But we're just getting into that season where it's like, yeah, we're going to get a real good run of plants for probably 4 months. And then it's back to, oh, now it's too hot. Oh, darn it. And then it'll go to, oh, it's too cold. Darn it. Not too cold, as in it changes. So we can get 4 months where it's like, oh, wow. If we were having 500 plant problems a month, we're now down to 30. And then you go back to some months where it's like, okay, well, it's blizzards out there. It's 500 again. And we, 570 out of, 19,000, it's fine. But it's, what I hate is it's still maybe 350 disappointed customers. That's what hurts. Because like, oh, I ordered 2 of these, like that kind of stuff. So it's like, oh, well, that's a bummer. Like if you gave me the choice, because on average we'll have 10 or 11,000 different people order from us a month, right? If you gave me the choice of not disappointing 300 of them, I would say, yes, we definitely want to do that. But we don't really get that choice because we can't control all of the issues. So have you had a few customer issues with tissue culture percentage-wise? I'd have to ask. I don't know the specifics on that. I know that we get them when they come to us, like we heard on the Deep in the Wall podcast. If you listen, like they're still working on packaging to get less of them to have like pop the seal, but I don't think we've had too many problems proportionally by like for tissue culture in general. Like every once in a while there's like a learning curve and stuff like that, but I'm not, the only thing I can really say is different is they're smaller to ship. So that's nicer for us. And they travel so much better. What do I mean by that is like they're meant to sit in that thing for up to like a couple months, where a potted plant is not meant to be in the mail for a couple months. So, if you order from us and you're getting tissue cultures, like even if it takes 2 weeks, like it's probably gonna be fine, honestly. Like they won't even care. Which I will say, by the way, we have been updating some things on shipping and just guidance. So if you look at like our plant page right now, we added a little bit of guidance that says we encourage our customers to order live plants on Saturdays and Sundays for a Monday shipment. This helps avoid shipping delays in the network. So all that means is if you order Saturday and Sunday, your plants will leave our warehouse on Monday, and that gives the most business days in a row to get to you as fast as possible. Right? If you order on a Thursday night and we ship it Friday morning, depending on where you live, it might have to sit a couple days. Like some places do get Saturday delivery, some don't. Some do get Sunday, some don't. And so most plants can do 7 to 10 days, no problem. Depending on like in the winter, obviously heat packs can't last that long, so can't do that. But right now we're getting into like if you shipped them to Washington, like an Anubias at 2 weeks would be fine. There's some that like a dwarf baby tears wouldn't handle it as well. Mosses handle it fine. Tissue cultures handle it fine. There's a lot of Java prints that handle it fine. There's a lot that would, but basically the best words of wisdom we can give is order Saturday or Sunday. It'll ship out Monday. That's the best possible optimization we can make for you guys that you can help us with. Is like, yeah, I got 5 days in a row for that mail to move or that package to move with the minimal disruptions. Now, every week, people in the Midwest / East Coast, you guys seem to have crazy storms every week lately. Like, I don't know what we're doing over there. Ever since, it's probably just because I'm tuning in, because now that I have a warehouse in Kentucky, I'm like, you guys are doing a thing over there again? Like, what is with this weather? But yeah, that obviously plays into deliveries when it's like, oh, this place flooded. Like, it's going to be running behind. Nothing we can do about that. So, how much is the membership? $4.99. If you're seeing a higher price than that, you're either in a different country or you're signing up on an Apple device and you want to use a non-app, basically, or Safari. it gets a little more tricky than that. But let's see. I feel like I was trying to find what would I attribute the most to? What would you attribute the most to? Ensuring there's a seamless transition from old warehouse to Kentucky. Have you sold the old one yet? What would you attribute the most to? Ensuring there. Oh, okay. So what part of making a seamless transition between the old warehouse and Kentucky? For me, I think it was doubling up on all of the dry goods. That meant that we didn't go a single day where we weren't shipping. We basically were shipping in Washington, and then we stopped shipping dry goods in Washington. So we were still shipping plants in Washington, and we were training people in Kentucky how to just use the machines and print and tape machine and all that kind of stuff. And after a week of that, then we started going, okay, well, let's start doing some of the East Coast plants. Or not, that's not true. We then flew me over there and we like built the plant system. Then we started doing East Coast plants, and then we stopped plants on the West Coast. And so it was over that transition that made it seamless. So people basically had no idea we were even moving at that point. But no, we have not sold the old warehouse. We don't own it. And in fact, we rent, and we're still renting. So I lose 13 grand a month to paying an empty building, which it is now. We've been able to get it on the market for hopefully a new renter. But yeah, it's 13 grand that just goes straight into the garbage right next to 20-gallon longs and the pineapple pizza. So yeah, we would definitely love to take that 13 grand and put it straight into more brine shrimp eggs and more sponge filters and more things for dang sure. But you know, the landlord always been super cool, and you know, he made it seem like, oh yeah, we can get this rented out, no problem, and then made it very difficult. So that's just the way it's going to be. That being said, we still save more in shipping than that 13 grand per month. So if you were to ask, like, was it better to just wait the lease out? The answer was no, it's not. But we're still missing that extra 13 grand that, and well, it's more than that because we also have to pay utilities. We also have to carry insurance on that building. So there's, like, example, the day after Christmas, so the 26th at 7 p.m., I had a horrible cold. Katie was blocking traffic while I was shutting off the power, or not shutting off the water, because somebody had tried to steal the copper spigot on the outside. So it was gushing hundreds of gallons of water while my hands are freezing. It took about 2 hours to get it shut off. And so it's stuff like that. So not only is it monetary costs, it's still in the back of your mind, like, that's still another building we're responsible for. And then the day after Christmas, the call came, and it's like, well, most of my team for the warehouse is now in Kentucky. And then I've got a team kind of further away at the store, and it's the day after Christmas. I guess that's on Katie and I. So we went and did it. We got it done. But it's stuff like that. So it'll be real nice when that is just great. We've unloaded that, and we're focusing more on, you know, our current warehouse and the current store and the expansion and this fish room. And, you know, that's why I always like more real estate. No, I want less buildings to, what do you mean that building's doing a thing? You know, there's always, in my life, every week, there's always a building with a problem. Whether it's like one of our fans in the store, like it's, you know, the Amazon special. I'm running the fans here. I bought 10 total fans, I think. No, 12 total fans. One of them, for whatever reason, ran for 3 weeks and then crapped out. And unfortunately, we bought them February 12th, and it's more than 30 days since that, so we get nothing back from Amazon. But there's always, whatever that version is, that version of, yeah, a thing at this building has broken and we need to replace it. Like, oh, good. And then you've got all the normal home stuff and like that. So the least amount of buildings I've got to be involved in, the better it sounds to me, honestly. So, all right. Let's see if there's any more. Maximize plant shipments, a mystery pack plus 4 more plants. We actually got rid of mystery packs. So, yeah. The app kept screwing up. Every month it would screw up. we'd lose lots of money in shipping fees and other garbage. And this last time, it was straw that broke the camel's back. So mystery plant packs are gone. Usually what happens is Shopify makes an update or that app company makes an update. It breaks the thing. Nobody knows that someone pushed an update. We then get, someone like Candy or someone else will just be like, a customer say they didn't get their plants. And we look into it and be like, so for a week, every mystery pack we sold didn't ship. How many customers are affected? Oh, today it's 96. 96 reships. Oh no. And inventory's off and all of that. And yeah, so after all said and done, like, yep, just got to ditch it. Not reliable enough. We can't have it break every 4 to 6 weeks on us for that much. So, yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately. But yes, your sentiment of just buying 10 plants, that would work awesome. Yeah. Yeah. No more surprise Pogo Octopus Jungle Packs. Yep. Yeah, we had that problem too, where if you sold too many plants down, it would then just be like, you get 6 Pogo. Like, we needed to not do that. And so the first problems we had with the app was it wouldn't shut itself off because let's say we have 30 Anubias in the retail store. We've got 30 Crypt When Dead Eye Reds. We've got all these plants in the retail store. And then online, we might sell out of that. And it would just say like, oh, no, it's still there. It's fine. Don't send an alert to Corey or Randy. It's fine. You got. So it would say like, I see here you have 5,000 plants in stock. Like, no. 2,500 of those are in the retail store. They're not part of our online inventory. And eventually we got them to fix that. But then it's just another, what's the next instance of like that type of bug for us? It's like, oh, another one. Oh, another one. Oh, another one. So another example of that would be, why don't you guys have back in stock notifications? Same problem. Almost no app factors in the fact that we have a retail store too. And so they'll push some kind of update. It'll, like I remember when we got rid of it, it emailed like 1,000 people going, this is in stock. And then customer service got slammed like, it's not in stock. Did it sell out already? I'm so angry. And it's like, no. Or you have one employee make one mistake. So we enter in inventory and a retail person accidentally puts 50 of a thing into stock online when it was actually meant to go to the retail store, and 50 people just got an email and 50 people are angry. And so, you would think like, well, is there enough checks? We put a lot of checks and balances, but there still can be oopsies, or you have like another one that happens. You have a customer return that we do and we process it to the wrong one. So one goes back in inventory online. That sets a whole thing in motion. There's all these little gotchas, and so we're just removing the gotchas. Yeah. So dinner time. About time to mess up some Chinese food. Nice. Yeah. So we're basically, to wrap all this up, we're streamlining a lot of stuff. Still committed to our customers. Still committed to making you guys happy. And we're just doing any move we need to be moved, need to be done to make sure we can continue to do that. And yeah, so as you see these little changes, know like, yeah, it kind of has to be. And, we'll bob and weave as we usually can. Does Randy usually deal with the shipping headaches? Well, first it usually comes to customer service. But then it's, I would say, after customer service, it's probably 80% or 90% Randy and then 10% me, where I'm digging in going, hey, did you know this? And, usually it's like, yes, but we don't have an answer yet. So he does definitely handle most of it. But there's lots of stuff that I get involved in too, where it's like setting, how much should we charge for shipping? What should we do over here? What about this? What about changing the website to reflect this? Or, a lot of app bugs and stuff I actually work on. A lot of website stuff I work on as well. So, yeah. Yeah, still trying to recover from moving the warehouse. Took 3 years to get the expansion open. Likely not opening a new store anywhere else. Yeah, that's really, we've outlaid a ton of money and effort to do these moves to set us up long term. We're right on the cusp of really actualizing like retail store expansion opening. That's good long term. Dialing in, warehouse and all that kind of stuff's good long term. And we were dialed in, but then like 20% more tariffs hit, and kind of shipping rates are going up. Like there's some things that are just like, okay, well that adds a layer of complexity, and so we're counteracting all of that the best we can, without just doing an easy answer of like, yeah, does everything cost 20% more? Like just make the customer pay for it. We want to, I had a whole meeting. We spent hours on it today. Like, when these containers land, like, what are we doing? How much? Can we absorb that on this product? Could we, okay, can't absorb it on that product. We have to on that one. But what about this over here? Can we change packaging? It spawns all these new questions that we're trying to solve for. So, whatever the prices become, and do realize that many, many, many hours will have gone into it, and this is what we had to do. Because the answer is like, do we do it or do we stop doing it? That's the way we look at it. So, we want to continue to do it. The corner store is stocked. That's true. There is no brine shrimp though. There is no brine shrimp, but the corner store is. Oh man, one of my things fell down. Well, I will have to address that. One of my carbon pads fell. I wonder if the little sticky thing we put on it fell off. But yeah. Corey, you can take me later, but please order a pizza with pineapple and hot dogs. You're welcome. All right. I definitely would do that in Japan. I'm a sucker for weird pizza in not Japan, sorry, China. Like I actually kind of low key really love tuna fish on pizza. I've eaten that more than I should probably admit while I'm in China. Like this is delicious. And I could see hot dog. Somehow I could see hot dog and pineapple going okay. I can kind of see that because to me it's like closer to relish, like a sweet relish maybe. Like with a hot dog, I could kind of see that. Yeah. When will brine shrimp eggs be back in stock? Best absolute case scenario, like 10 days. Worst case scenario, they fall into the ocean and they never make it here. So I don't think it'll be 10 days. So don't be like, I was waiting at the window. Where are they? That would have to be like literally they sail through the port. Everything's like, oh, wow, not a single hiccup, which is not what our economy is doing right now. There is hiccups everywhere. So, sometime in April is my legitimate guess. Could be towards the beginning, could be towards the end. We don't get to decide. Short of, well, I can't. They actually won't let me pick it up. I was gonna say, short of me going to like the port of LA and driving a truck across, but we literally have tried that, hiring our own thing, and they won't let you because it's hidden back in the stack. We actually can't. They have to let people that landed before them out before they can let us out. So yeah, we're literally just at the mercy of whatever the current backlog, if there is one. There might not be one. I don't know. I can't tell you. It's kind of a mystery on that. Unless you're working in the port, you can't really know. We can't. So he's gonna divorce you for the pineapple hot dog comment. She's removed pineapple pizza comments before. Yeah. Tuna with Koopy mayo. Yeah. Yeah. I think the tuna fish one was an accident. Like I ordered it and I was like, oh, all right. And then, oh, this is real good. So yeah. I also love curry, like Indian curry type pizzas. I'll try a lot of things. But yeah, pineapple not my jam. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I'm purely joking. If I showed up to your house and you're like, hey, I bought pizza for everybody, I'm eating the pineapple pizza. Like I'm polite. But if you're saying, Corey, you can order anything you want, never ever will I order a pineapple on my pizza. Like it will never. But if like I ordered a pizza, great example. If I ordered a pizza, let's say I ordered a pepperoni pizza, and for some reason we go to pick it up and it's got pineapple, I just feel like, all right, I'll just eat it. Like I'm not gonna waste food, but I would never willingly be like, pineapple, you want it? It's free. No, I prefer not to have it. Even if free, I still prefer not. So, is Elmer in the big tank? Still in the smaller tank currently. Yeah, not in the big one yet. All right, I gotta feed fish. I haven't fed my fish yet, and I gotta get ready for dinner and stuff. So thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna try to finish up a video this week so I can get one out maybe on the weekend. Deep in the Mold podcast will probably come out. Thanks for everyone who donated memberships. Thanks for everybody who's buying from us. Thanks for everyone showing up, hitting that like button, leaving comments, hanging out on the forum, doing all that stuff. I appreciate it. And yeah, I won't delay this ending of this live stream too long. I think that's it, right? Let me look at my live stream notes. Do I have any this week? Let's see. Talked about buy at your local stores, local clubs. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, we got the new Psilocybe sticker. We got the 2 new tissue cultures. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time. I appreciate it. There'll be no ads on this. Don't worry. So I appreciate you guys supporting with memberships and premium and buying from us and all of that. And we'll try to make our way through this crazy world. We'll see you next time.